Do you ever type a reply to a comment and get halfway through and are just like, it's just not worth it? When was the last time? Usually 2 scenarios. 1. Wait, this guy is just trolling. 2. I'm not saying anything that the other replies haven't already said. 3. Wait, I might be wrong. Google's yep was wrong. I was going to respond to an AskReddit question about a random fact, and I was typing out a response about barristers in the UK. Basically, to become one you have to be a member of one of 4 clubs, if you would. I always thought it was interesting, but I didn't think others would feel the same. Instead I wrote about an earl who farted in front of Queen Elizabeth I. He was so embarrassed that he travelled the world for 7 years, only to have her almost immediately bring it up upon his return. I've always wondered if that story is apocryphal. All the time on who would win. I once got into an argument with a guy who insisted Kratos could beat Cthulhu, because Cthulhu was a god and Kratos kills gods. I got 5 replies in before he started saying that Kratos's punches should possess the strength necessary to dislodge the moon from orbit, because he supported Atlas's weight that one time. I was typing a long and detailed reply as to the difference between lifting strength and striking strength and the nature of outliers and why they shouldn't be counted. But I then realized by looking at his other comment replies to other people that he's not arguing for Kratos because he genuinely has concluded that Kratos should win, but rather because he really likes Kratos. I couldn't exactly say that as an argument, so I just stopped and moved on. Like 30 seconds ago, I was replying on a question about restaurants and wrote this. Served raw chicken once as a kid. It was breaded and covered in some sauce. I was somewhere around 10, and I remember I just started wolfing it down before I realized it didn't quite taste right. Then I looked closer and asked my dad. He worked in food quality control, so he freaked the frick out. He called the waiter over who said something like, "We'll get you another one," and my dad telling him that wasn't what he wanted, that they had literally poisoned my son, and I got really scared and upset. Then the waiter argued with my dad that I shouldn't have eaten it when I realized it was raw, and my dad freaking out and almost kicking the guy's butt. The manager was slightly better at dealing with my parents, but my dad was right, they poisoned me. Not so I'd die like I thought though. I got violently sick and I remember my parents even taking me to the hospital just to make sure I'd be okay. I don't remember exactly how it all ended, but I know we never ate at that restaurant again, and that every time I drive by the place, it's been closed down for years but the building is still there. I feel a bit ill. I was getting long-winded and realized nobody really cares about this, so I just ended it quickly. This ends up being my problem, too. I love going into details, but then halfway through I'm just like, no one cares, and I just delete everything, close the tab and die a little inside. Whenever I'm in an argument with a good friend, so I'll type out a message and close my phone, and if in 5 minutes I still mean what I typed, I'll send it. Gives you some time to verify if you think it's worth it or not. I swear 20% of my Redditing is typing something out and deleting it after I realize I sound retarded and or monstrously dickish. Sometimes I try really hard to write something funny and then I read back what I've just written and decide that I'm an idiot and no one will ever love me. I'll comment some things I think are pretty clever on comments almost a day old, then think what's the point, no one's going to see it anyways. I read this one. This post could have been legendary if it was upvoted to the front page with 0 replies. We screwed the pooch, Reddit. We did not do it, Reddit. I've just read the tifu about the travel agent who booked a holiday for a customer and lost the company something like $17K. I'm a travel agent and this would never ever happen. The amount of work that goes into planning a trip like that for the customer is a lot, to say the least. I was going to comment and basically say the story is bulls, but every comment was saying it's not your fault, it's the company, you should have had proper training, etc. I knew if I said the story was a load of crap I'd just get backlash, so didn't comment. Now I've said it here. Yeah, it seemed like BS to me too. Unless 1. The manager was trying to cover themselves from even higher management. 2. This was not their first big screw up, but it's the one where the manager was just tired of it. 3. The company was just terrible and they're better off out of it. But I know costing the company a few $1,000s, one-off, won't get you fired, in general. Yesterday, anything about politics or religion that will take time to explain and the odds are the person just wants to argue anyway. I mentioned in a comment about the Romani that gypsy was a pejorative term. Someone commented that it wasn't, including several racist comments in his explanation. I started to type a long, heroic, and thoroughly righteous post about how he was wrong. Then, before hitting submit, I realized all I was doing was getting into an argument on the internet. No one wins that game. Perhaps a tiny rhyme or two, in time for you and me, a verse or four on something new. For all and more to see, perhaps a word, a phrase, a line, a stanza, nice and neat, an ode to poesy's fair and fine, a ballad, bittersweet, a curse, or worse, to intersperse, a poem, for your sprog, or some creative counterverse, in rhyming dialogue, another chance, a second glance, to see without surprise, the latest hapless circumstance, where Timmy fricking dies, a clever line they can't forget, a little whim to write, to wit a bit of wit to whet, a reader's appetite, or maybe this, a work of heart, a line to find a friend, alas, I often love to start, but lose the will too. Fairly regularly, the thing about being a little older than Reddit's target demographic is you wind up seeing a lot of comments that are either misguided or plain wrong. Then you realize you're getting into an argument with a 12-year-old. Who's the misguided one now? Haha, exactly. I'm almost 40 and I often have the same experience here as well. Pretty much every time someone posts some illegitimate opinion on Facebook, I used to get a kick out of correcting misinformation and now I just don't want to come off as a dong. Honestly, a lot of opinions are not worth voicing here for the amount of crap you get for them from bitter people who disagree with you. Anything to do with Elon Musk usually, you'll get downvoted into oblivion for questioning anything to do with reality with that group. Really glad that news story about Elon underpaying employees went big yesterday. Happens to me all the time. It's usually when I'm trying to reply to someone that was in a similar situation as me, but after typing it all out, it just feels like I was trying to one-up them. Yeah, I'm one of those idiots who see people who are wrong on the internet and want to tell them how wrong they are. I constantly fight my urge. I delete several calmer whoring comments if I'm not funny, articulate, or polite enough. No upvotes to be had. I also stop typing if I feel like I'm splitting hairs. I'm sure someone's sad they're missing out on my niche trivia corrections, but it's not worth the risk of an internet debate about crap I hardly care about to begin with. Anytime I see a political comment and start typing a rebuttal, before remembering it's not worth an argument and I don't even keep up with politics. Also when I start typing out a joke reply and then think no one will find it funny. Happens to me all the time. Sometimes I just can't muster the rage anymore. The joke starts falling apart when I read it aloud, or I just stop caring. The last time it happened all the time on Facebook I find myself writing out replies to idiots, bigots, racists and people who are just plain wrong. 95% I write the comment, take a breath, then delete. The arguments that sprout from the 5% of times where I press tend to have been colossal. I don't try to enforce my way of thinking onto people, I merely point out where they are not correct in what they are saying. Last time I replied to a particularly nasty post an ignorant person made on Facebook, I got called a CM goblin and then he deleted me. Was about to reply to an argument of a flat earther when I realized it's just not worth it to argue with a close-minded ignorant person. All the time. Sometimes I write hate comments and then delete them immediately after cause I realize they're just a reflection of my mood. Not necessarily a comment, but I got a text the other day from my supervisor claiming he told me not to do something I did yesterday. I figured rather than text him, it would be more worth it to talk to him in person, which I am about to do now. The reason why I stop is because I don't want to get annoyed with responses, especially from the D users. Pretty much every time I browse an R news thread that's flooded with racism. Statistically, this group of minorities are naturally violent. Post sources from 1900 that have long since been disproved. Me. That's not true at all, even the sources are not credible. Oh, someone called him out already. Oh, the person calling him out is at -100. Oh, the racist is at 5k and gilded 4 times. Looks like another Stormfront TD brigade. Guess I won't bother. I have a friend on Facebook who is lovely in real life but is a very keen member of a UK political party. He is very passionate and posts on average 12 posts a day, usually about how Marxism works. Jeremy Corbyn is a son, and anyone who disagrees is some sort of ogre. I agree with about 30% of what he says, and the other 70% I will often type out a response pointing out there is slightly more nuance in the situation than he allows, and then realize he doesn't want debate, he wants validation, but he is entertaining to follow. In a similar vein, my old gym buddy, who again is a nice friend, who posts Breitbart and is Obama a real Muslim articles constantly, calls climate change a hoax, calls Donald Trump daddy, he's British and lives in Cambridgeshire for goodness sake. Again, it's not worth it. Calls Donald Trump daddy, that's a new one. My country's sub is very circular jerky and politically one-sided. Many times I have caught myself trying to debunk blatant lie or clickabity title of post that changes sense of the article linked. But more often than not it's not really worth it to have arguments with people on the internet. Not long ago someone posted that mayor of particular city in Poland wants for people who want to undergo in vitro have psychological exam. It of course was twisted to sound like he is saying that people who want in vitro were crazy. But what he really said was if people who want to adopt have to undergo such exams, people wanting in vitro should too. My comment linking full article with context and debunking of clickbaity title stayed on 2-1 upvote, while bashing of mayor got to about 50 because frick logic and facts. Basically every conversation involving politics. I love to play devil's advocate, so I often find myself writing out paragraphs defending something I don't even believe in, before realizing how it really won't be worth the following shitstorm. This will probably get buried, but I remember a few weeks ago one of my distant relatives posted some very hateful political post on Facebook. Normally I just ignore posts like these, but there were some factually incorrect statements or overall some pretty hateful comments. I was tired of seeing his stupid crap, so I wanted to call him out on it. I wrote out this huge comment, even citing sources. However, after staring at my screen for a solid 5 minutes, I realized this isn't going to change his opinion, and probably just get more people pee off at each other. So I said frick it and left it alone. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.